Hello, I know that many of your 2024 resolutions involve saving money and building wealth, but before you begin creating your plan of action to achieve your financial goals, it's important to make sure that you aren't unknowingly holding yourself back from your own financial independence. Through my years of experience, I've learned that there are 5 common mistakes that prevent the majority of Americans from becoming wealthy. Let's talk about them one by one. First, at the top of the list, it is that it never occurs to them to become wealthy. The average person has grown up in a family where he's never met or known anyone who was wealthy. He goes to school, socializes with people who are not wealthy. Birds of a feather flock together. He works with people who are not wealthy. He has a reference group or a social circle outside of work who are not wealthy, and he has no role models who are wealthy. Now, if this has happened to you throughout your formative years, up to the age of 20 or so, you can actually grow up and become a fully mature adult in our society. And it may never occur to you that it's just as possible for you to become wealthy as for anyone else. So, the first reason why people don't become wealthy is because it never occurs to them that it is possible for them. And of course, if it never occurs to them, then they never take any of the steps necessary to make it a reality. Now, the second reason that people don't become wealthy is that they never decide to. The primary cause for underachievement and failure is that the great majority of people don't decide to be successful. Even if a person reads a book or attends a lecture or associates with people who are financially successful, nothing changes until he makes a decision to do something different. Even if it occurs to a person that he could become wealthy if he just did certain things in a certain way, if he doesn't decide to take the first step, he ends up staying as he is. If you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. The third reason that people don't become wealthy is procrastination. People always have a good reason not to begin doing what they know they need to do to achieve financial independence. It's always the wrong month, the wrong season, or the wrong year. There always seems to be a reason to procrastinate. As a result, they keep putting it off month by month, year by year, until it's too late. Even if it's occurred to a person that they can become wealthy and they have made a decision to change it, procrastination will push all their plans into the indefinite future, and nothing will ever happen. The fourth reason that people retire poor is what economists call the inability to delay gratification. The great majority of people have an irresistible temptation to spend every single penny they make and whatever else they can borrow or buy on credit. If you cannot delay gratification and discipline yourself to refrain from spending everything you make, you cannot become wealthy. W. Clement Stone once said, "If you cannot save money, then the seeds of greatness are not in you. If you cannot practice budgeting as a lifelong habit, it will be impossible for you to achieve financial independence." The fifth reason that people retire poor is perhaps as important, if not more important, than all the others. It's a lack of time perspective. Time perspective is defined as the amount of time that you take into consideration when planning your day-to-day activities and when making important decisions in your life. The young couple that begins putting $50 a month aside in a scholarship fund so that their newborn child can go to the college or university of his choice is a couple with long-time perspective. They're willing to sacrifice in the short term to assure better results and outcomes in the long term. People with long-time perspective almost invariably move up economically in the course of their lifetimes. That's it for the 5 reasons why most people don't become wealthy. I hope you found this helpful and you feel strongly motivated to take action, make changes, and become wealthy soon. Many people believe that becoming a millionaire or a tasson is only for the lucky or privileged. But what if I told you that you can actually reach millionaire status? It's within your reach, just waiting for you to grab it. We say that success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. Success leaves tracks. So if you just follow the tracks of other successful people, no matter where you're starting from, you eventually get to the same place that they get. As we set off on this journey together today, I encourage you to open your mind and heart to the possibility of reaching your full potential. Embrace the power of learning, growth, and self-improvement, and see how you unlock the door to endless prosperity and abundance. Now let's dive into the strategies and principles that will lead us to achieving our dreams of becoming millionaires and more. Self-made millionaires have been studied exhaustively. They've been analyzed, they've been interviewed by the hundreds of thousands and millions. And what we know is exactly who they are and what they do and how they think and how they tick and the decisions they make and the things that they do and they don't do. And the wonderful thing is this: if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do. Now, some people say, well, I started off without any money and I don't have any money now. When I started off in this many years ago, I came from very poor beginnings. I did not graduate from high school. I finished in the half of the class that makes the top half possible. When I left school, I dropped out of high school. I could only get laboring jobs. I was told, by the way, if you don't get a good education, you won't do well in life. Don't get good grades, you won't get a good job. You don't go to college, you won't do well, and so on. And I believed that for a long time, until I found out there's hundreds of thousands and millions of people who dropped out of high school, who went on to become millionaires and billionaires as well. The reason I say that to you, by the way, is don't let it hold you back. Don't let any experience that you've ever had in your life act as a brake on your potential, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who've had it worse than you could ever dream of, who've gone on to accomplish wonderful things. I worked at laboring jobs for several years. I worked in construction. I worked on farms and ranches. I worked in factories putting nuts on bolts. Hour after hour, and one day, in a state of frustration, I began asking this question: why is it that some people are more successful than others? Now, in the Bible, there's a line that says, "Seek and ye shall find, for all who seek findeth, ask, and the door will be open." So I began asking other successful people, what are you doing differently from me? And they told me, and I did it, and I got better results. I got into sales when I could no longer get a laboring job like many of you. And in sales, I noticed that one of the guys in my company is making 10 times as much as anybody else. And he was selling the same product out of the same office at the same price to the same people under the same conditions, and he was making 10 times as much as anybody else. I went and asked him, what are you doing differently from me? And he told me, and I did it. What I discovered, which changed my life, is the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect, sowing and reaping, action and reaction, is the great universal or iron law of the universe. What it says is that everything happens for a reason, is that there are no, because this affects, is that even if we don't know what is causing the effect, we trace it back. It's the basis of the scientific process of all medical research, of all marketing, of all business, is if you can define an effect that you want, you can trace it back and find somebody who at one time did not have that effect, and then find out what they did, and then do the same things, and you eventually get the same results. We say that success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. Success leaves tracks. So if you just follow the tracks of other successful people, no matter where you're starting from, you eventually get to the same place that they get. This was a shocker for me because, and I learned later in psychology, by the way, the two most important things we need to have to be happy and healthy is a sense of control, a feeling that we are in control of our lives, that things are happening for a reason, and a sense of coherence, a feeling that things fit together well. When I realized the law of cause and effect explained everything, I got, wow. So in sales, I went to the top of my sales force. I read and I learned, attended courses, and especially I applied what I learned. And then when I got into sales management, I again read the books and took the courses and asked for advice. And when I got into real estate and importation and development and manufacturing, distribution, in a whole series of businesses over the years, the first thing I did is I asked, how does it work? How do people succeed in this field? And then I buried myself and immersed myself. I spent hours and hours and hours studying. And then I did what the most successful people did. We say that nature is neutral. In other words, nature doesn't care who you are. Doesn't care if you're tall or short or male or female or black or white, educated or uneducated. Nature doesn't care. All that nature cares is that you do what successful people do. It's like making a recipe. Nature doesn't care. You follow a recipe. If you follow the recipe exactly, you get the dish. Nature doesn't care who's doing it. And that's the wonderful thing about our society. It's basically like justice is blind, is nature doesn't care. In fact, there are a lot of people who are not as smart and not as talented as you who are doing vastly better than you. Not because they're better, but because they're just following proven success methods. There's nothing that will make you matter than to see somebody who's dumber than you, who's making more money than you, right? Have you had that experience? So what we do is we use proven success methods. We just find out what they are and we do them over and over again. Let me highlight a crucial point. In my research on self-made millionaires, I've discovered a common thread. Nothing happens overnight. Success is a journey paved with difficulties and failures, but it's those who keep going, those who refuse to be prevented by initial setbacks, who at last overcome. So I ask you, what do you assume is the average number of trials a person makes before throwing in the towel on a new goal? Well, the average is less than one, because most people give up before even trying once. They say, that's a great goal. I'd love to be financially independent, and then they give up. They don't even try because I can't, because of this and that, and so on. And then they go to a wonderful place called someday. Have you ever heard of someday? Someday, 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 I'll start saving money. Someday I'll get out of debt. Someday I'll lose weight. Someday I'll start a business. Someday I'll take my finances seriously. And most people live in it. Someday your job and my job are to vote you off the island, right? And we started taking control of our lives a few years ago. A major entrepreneur called me and asked me to give a talk for his 800 entrepreneurs who own independent franchises within his organization on how to become a self-made millionaire. I said, yes. When you're a young speaker, you agree to talk on any topic. And I said, sure, I'll talk on that subject. And I was like most people when I was young, I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And when I got to 30, I postponed it to 35. And when I got to 35, I postponed it to 40. And then I just stopped looking at it. I forgot about it and felt like the cards were stacked against me. I was around 38 or 39 when he called me and asked. I said, sure, no problem. And then I asked myself, what do I know about self-made millionaires? And this was shocking. I knew nothing. So I started studying them, finding out where they came from, what they did, how they thought, where they started, the decisions they made, and the kind of people they were. One of the things that I learned, by the way, is that becoming a self-made millionaire is not the important thing. What is really important is the person you have to become a self-made millionaire. You have to become a totally different human being. One of my friends says that in order to achieve something you've never achieved before, you have to become someone you've never been before. And it's a really important insight is the qualities that you need to develop, a quality on the inside to become a self-made millionaire, are incredible qualities that make you a vastly better person. Not only better in terms of character, determination, discipline, decision-making, strength, and so on, but they make you a far better person. They round out your character in a far better way, so that the real payoff of becoming wealthy is not because you can eat more, because how many more meals can you eat? How many more clothes can you wear? Because it's the kind of person that you become, and then the kind of people that you associate, the kind of life that you have. What I found in my research is that there's a series of qualities that self-made millionaires have. If you have these qualities, your success is virtually guaranteed. And if you don't have these qualities, the qualities are learnable. Point number one is that all business or sales skills are learnable. All financial skills are learnable. If you can drive a car, you can learn any skill. If you can drive a car, you can learn the skill. Now, number two is you're probably only one skill away from doubling your income. you're probably only one skill away from setting yourself on the road to becoming a self-made millionaire. That turns out to be the case for almost everyone. And if you don't know what that skill is, maybe over the course of the time we spend together, it'll jump out at you. But whatever it is, you've got to find it out and go to work on it, because it is learnable. It's a learnable skill. People say, well, I don't mean I've never been very good with money. Well, get over it. The fact of the matter is you can learn what you need to learn to achieve anything that you want to achieve. So the success secrets of self-made millionaires. Give yourself a score of 1 to 10. And if you are weak on one of these, it can be enough to hold you back. If you're strong on all these, then there's no limit to what you can accomplish. The first one is to dream big dreams. Dream big dreams. Practice what is called back from the future thinking and project forward. Develop a vision of yourself as happy, healthy, wealthy, thin. Practice what top people practice, which is what is called idealization. You project forward several years, and yet you imagine that your life is perfect in every way. Imagine that you have no limitations. Imagine that you have all the time and all the money and all the friends and all the contacts and all the education, all the experience, and that you could be or have or do anything you want in life. If you could, what would it be? If your life were perfect in 5 years, what would it look like? How much would you be earning? How much would you be worth? What kind of a family life would you have? What kind of health would you have? What kind of car would you be driving? What would your life be like if you could wave a magic wand and make it perfect in every way? Now, what we have found is this is the starting point of great riches, and it's the starting point of great success in life, is for you to have a dream or a vision of a wonderful future. Here's an exercise that we give people in our audiences is take a sheet of paper and make up what is called a dream list. Now imagine this is kind of like a kid's Christmas list, and that it just allows you to just run wild and just write down everything that you could think of, that you could possibly want. I had a friend who I taught this to, and he got so excited about it, he bought a spiral notebook, and he began writing, and he'd go through the newspaper and every single thing he saw in the newspaper. That was nice. He wrote it down as goal. He ended up first time through with 330 goals. With the end of the month, he had 500 things that he wanted. The interesting thing was that his life exploded. He activated the law of attraction, and he began to attract into his life people, circumstances, ideas, resources, insights. That's began to move him toward the accomplishment of the goals and began to move the goals toward him. 2 is to do what you love to do. Whenever you find people who are really successful in life, they're people who do what they love to do. They love their work. The great rule for success in life is to find something that you love to do and then find a way to make a living doing it. Now, when you find what you love to do, it'll be something that gives you energy. It motivates you. It enthuses you. It's probably something that you were meant to do from the time you were born. And when you ask self-made millionaires, what sort of work do you do? They'll often say, I've never worked a day in my life. I just do what I like to do. I had a graduate of my course once that came up to me and said, you know, that's interesting. He said, when I was a little boy, I loved to study airplanes, he said. I got the airplane books and I had airplane models and I had toy planes. And then I got into competitions with the remote control planes, he said. When I grew up and went to school, I studied aeronautical engineering. He said, I own 3 companies. One builds a small aircraft. Another one repairs and services small aircraft. Another one is in leasing and chartering small aircraft. He said, I've never worked a day in my life, he said. I've just played with planes since the time I was a kid. 3 is commit to excellence. Now this is really, really important. And I had a hard time with this as a young man because I was never good at anything. I was never picked for any team. And if I was picked, I was the first person cut. I got lousy grades in every class. I got fired from multiple jobs. I even got fired from a job pumping gas once. Can imagine that, being fired for pumping gas because you're no good. They came out and said, you're no good at pumping gas. How can you be? No little old ladies can pump gas. And here it was. I was no good at pumping gas anyway, so I got fired. I went from job to job, and then I discovered that all people who are successful are excellent at what they do. You know, the old question they asked Willie Sutton, the bank robber, why do you rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. Well-being in the top 10% is where the money is. So what you have to do is you have to pay any price and make any sacrifice to get into the top 10% in your field. Now here's the good news. If you're doing what you love to do, you will want to be in the top 10% in your field. If you don't want to be excellent at what you're doing, it means you're in the wrong field. It just means that you're marking time, you're treading water. And there's a lot of people who are in their field and they do their job, and you know, they go home at night, they don't think about their work and so on. And this kind of an attitude means that you have no future. You have a very shaky present. That crackling sound you hear is the ice breaking under your feet, okay? And you have no future, because if you're not doing what you love to do and throwing your whole heart into it, you're just marking time. But everybody is designed so that there is something that you love to do that you can do well. And the fact that you love it means that you probably have the ability to excel at it. So make this decision to get into the top 10%. The next key is to develop your unique talents and abilities. Every single person is designed from infancy with special talents and abilities that, if you develop them to their height, can enable you to accomplish anything you want in life. Everyone is genetically structured to be able to do something superbly, to do something they enjoy, to do it well, and to get great satisfaction from it. Peter Drucker often asked the question, what are you good at? What are you good at today? What should you be good at? What could you be good at? What will you be good at? And so one of the questions that we ask is, looking back in your life, what has been most responsible for your success up to now? What has been most responsible in the past? What is it that you have done that has gotten you the best results? Because as we said before, success leaves tracks. And if you look back into your past, you'll often find indicators that guide you to your future. Do you remember that fellow that won credit, $300 million in the lottery? He was a high school physics teacher, and they asked him what he's going to do with it. He said he's going to take a week off and then get back to work, because he doesn't want to give up his job teaching high school physics, because he loves his work so much. That is a person who's in the right place for him, and now he can just drive to it in a nicer car anyway. Now, the fourth key to become a self-made millionaire is to see yourself as self-employed. What we found is the top 3% of adults in our society see themselves as self-employed. They see themselves as in charge of their own lives. When I started off my career as a young man, I was 21 years old, working as a construction laborer, living in a one-bedroom apartment, broke, taking buses 2 hours every morning to get to work and buses 2 hours to get back. I still remember that, and I still remember a light going off. One evening, I was sitting there in my little apartment, in my little kitchen alcove, and I suddenly realized that I was responsible, is that I was in charge of my own life, that no one was coming to the rescue, and it was one of the great turning points in my life. So what you find is that all exceptional people are highly responsible people. They look upon themselves as self-employed. Sometimes I'll ask an audience, I'll say, how many people here are self-employed? And some people will raise their hand and some won't. I'll say now, what's the true answer to this question? And the true answer is that everyone is self-employed. The biggest mistake you can ever make is to ever think you work for anyone else but yourself. Even if someone else signs your paycheck for you all your life, the most valuable people in any organization are the people who treat the company as though it belongs to them. They see everything that happens as affecting them personally. They're not the 9-to-5ers, the no-hopers that say, you know, I go to work when I'm not at work. I don't think about my work. These people, somebody has told them that's a clever way to think. It's the way losers think. Winners think about their company, and when they're not there, they think about how they can do it better. When something happens in their company, they take it personally because they see themselves as highly responsible. As a result, they're paid more, they're given more educational opportunities, they're promoted faster. And these are the people that eventually, like cream, rise to the top of every organization and every industry, the top 3%. The fifth key to becoming a self-made millionaire is to develop a clear sense of direction. Developing a clear sense of direction means that you need to become intensely goal-oriented. We find that all successful people are goal-oriented. There's an old saying, you can't hit a target that you can't see. You've got to know what you want in every area of your life. Some years ago, I worked with a hot oil company in Texas. The hot oil company was founded by H.L. Hunt, who became the wealthiest self-made multi-jillionaire, billionaire in the world. At his peak, he owned 200 companies and had a royalty income of $3,000 a day. Most phenomenal man, by the way. And he was interviewed by a friend of mine on television before he died in the early 70s. And he was asked, what are the secrets to success? He said, the keys to success have only been two through all my life, and I will tell you what they are. He said, number one, he said, decide exactly what it is you want and write it down and make a plan to achieve it. And number two is determine the price you're going to have to pay to get it, and then resolve to pay that price. Now, where the law of sowing and reaping cause and effect, I learned an additional point to that. I learned that your current life today is the result of the price you've sown up to. Now is whatever you put in, you get out. So whatever you're getting out today as a result of what you put in, if you don't like what you're getting out, what you have to do is you have to put in something different. What I found is that life is always just in the long run. So therefore, life says there's a price you have to pay. And there's two qualities. First of all, you have to pay the price in full for your success, study, preparation, hard work, and so on. And second of all, you have to pay the price in advance. You don't get it afterwards. Where the world works is first you put in what you need to put in, and then you get out the rewards. So you have to ask yourself, what is the price that you have to pay to achieve the success that you desire? And you have to write it down and make a plan and work on it every day. Let me give you a quick exercise, which is my only take-home or homework exercise for our time together. I want you to take a piece of paper like this and write down 10 goals that you'd like to accomplish in the next 12 months. Write the word goals on today's date at the top of the page. Write down 10 goals you'd like to accomplish, and then ask yourself this great question. If you could only accomplish one goal on this list, but you could accomplish it within 24 hours, which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on your life? Now, this is a great question because it'll usually jump out at you. You say, that's the one. If I had this, that would have more of an impact on my life than anything else. Sometimes it's a financial goal, sometimes it's a health goal, sometimes it's a relationship goal. But whatever it is, put a circle around that goal and then turn the page over and write it at the top of the page. Set a deadline on the goal, make a list of everything that you could think of to do to achieve the goal, and then begin working on your list. And here's the kicker. Do something every day. Do something every day that moves you one step forward towards your major goal. My promise to you that this exercise, selecting your most important goal, making a plan and working on it every day, will change your life in ways that you cannot imagine. They say that people begin to become great when they determine their major definite purpose, their number one goal, and work on it every day. It is the secret to becoming a self-made millionaire. It's the secret to great success in life. The sixth is refuse to consider the possibility of failure. It's the most amazing darn thing is that the fear of failure is the greatest single obstacle to success in adult life. And it's not failure itself, because each one of you is a professional failure. Each one of you has failed over and over and over again. Is that true? All of us fail. All human beings fail over and over. 9 out of 10 things that we try don't work out the way we expected. We have failures in relationships and in jobs and in careers and investments and everything. It's not the failure that holds you back. The failure makes you smarter. We say that it is the fear of failure, not failure, that holds you back. And the way that you overcome failure is you never consider the possibility of failure. The rule is there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback, is when you try something that doesn't work. You get feedback, not failure. And recognize that most things you try aren't going to work the first few times. So what you do is you say, oh, that's an interesting bit of feedback. And you pick yourself up and you move forward. And you have more feedback and you move forward to become a self-made millionaire. You're going to fail over and over again, year after year after year. But your brain has a cybernetic mechanism, which means that everything times you try something, you get feedback, which makes you smarter. And when you try something else, you get feedback, which makes you smarter. And eventually you reach the point where you're too smart and you stop making mistakes. You start to do more and more things, right? And fewer things wrong. But you can't get there unless you have experienced the failures. Henry Ford once said that failure is merely an opportunity to more intelligently begin again. The seventh key is to dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. What takes you from rags to riches is personal development, personal, professional development in the 21st century. As Peter Drucker says, knowledge and skill are the keys to the 21st century. And the only thing that will be relevant, the only skill that will be relevant in the 21st century is the ability to learn new skills, because virtually everything you know is becoming obsolete at a rapid rate. Stephen Covey says that your current knowledge base has a half-life of 2 years, which means that half of everything you know will be irrelevant within 2 years, and 2 years from now, half more. So if you're not continually learning and upgrading your knowledge and skills, you're not staying in the same place. As Pat Riley says, the basketball coach says you're not getting better, you're getting worse. If you're not constantly learning, you're actually falling behind. And the interesting point is that the more you commit yourself to becoming the best person you can be, the more you like yourself and respect yourself. The more energy you have, the bigger goals you set for yourself, the more you persist. When you invest in yourself and you read and learn and upgrade your skills, you're telling yourself, wow, I am a person with a great future. And it's up to me to maximize my potential. And your self-esteem goes up, your self-respect goes up, your sense of personal pride goes up, and you started to get promoted more and paid more in every part of your life. Well, the next is to develop a workaholic mentality in our society. Next is be prepared to climb from peak to peak. One of the keys to becoming a self-made millionaire is to realize that life is never one continuous train. It's always up and down. So it goes up. Like if you climb a mountain peak, you have to go down into the valley before you climb the next peak. So all of life is cycles and trends. All of life is cycles and trends, and there's up cycles and there's down cycles, and there's up trends and there's down trends. The question is, what is the general direction of your trends? We say this is that life is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Successful people focus on the 2 steps forward and then they protect themselves. On the downside, they build up cash reserves, they put in stop loss orders on their stock market, they very carefully watch what they're doing. So they try to maintain that 2 steps up and then make sure that the 1 step back is not so far. And then they want to make sure that this curve is generally upward so that each time there's a step back, they're still further ahead than they were before the next one, which is to develop resilience and bounce back. Developing resilience and bouncing back is one of the key qualities of self-made millionaires. Because as I said right at the beginning, most things won't work. This is a very interesting point, is that you're going to be knocked down over and over again. And what we know is, my friend Charlie Jones says, is you have to bounce, don't break. And when things go wrong, bounce. And so what I learned many years ago was this interesting technique of what is called mental rehearsal. And mental rehearsal says that you mentally prepare for the inevitable downturns before they occur. So you say, all right, in the course of life, things are going to go wrong, but when they do, I'm not going to become upset, I'm not going to get mad or angry or anything else. I'm just going to take it and learn from it and pick myself up and keep going. The 9th key to becoming a self-made millionaire is to become an unshakable optimist. Unshakable optimist means that you think and talk about what you want. Most of the time, optimists think and talk about what they want. They look for the good in every situation they seek. The valuable lesson, They're constantly feeding their mind with great ideas, which opens up new perspectives. What I have found is that optimists have three wonderful qualities. One is they learn more things. As a result, they dramatically increase the likelihood that they will learn the right thing at the right time. Two is they try more things, which dramatically increases the likelihood that they'll try the right thing at the right time. And three is they persist. They never give up. Optimists make a decision that once they've decided they're going to become wealthy, they just never stop until they achieve that goal. Now, will they have many setbacks and obstacles and difficulties? You know that almost everybody succeeds in a different direction from what they originally intended or from what they originally thought, but they just keep going. Almost like a football player running down the field, running, blocking, changing, moving back forward continually, but never loses sight of the goal. So optimists learn more things, try more things, and persist longer. I want to leave you with the last two qualities of self-made millionaires. The first one is the qualities of courage and persistence. I said before, the biggest single obstacle to success is the fear of failure. The antidote to the fear of failure is the habit of courage. And what we know is that you need two types of courage to succeed. The first type of courage is the courage to begin. It's the courage to launch with no guarantees of success. Someone once said that if all obstacles must first be removed, nothing will ever get done. So successful people are willing to think, plan, make decisions, and then take action with no guarantees. We say, leap and the net will appear, take action with no guarantees, and then learn. The second part of courage is the courage to endure. It's the courage to persist. It's the courage to keep on keeping on. It's to make the decision in advance that you will never give up. No matter what happens, you'll never give up. You will get knocked down over and over again, but you'll never give up. And the interesting thing is, when you make that decision in advance, you'll find yourself continually bouncing back. So courage means the courage to begin and the courage to endure. And the final quality of self-made millionaires that Napoleon Hill called this the master key to riches. It's the quality of self-discipline. It's the ability to make yourself do what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. The quality of self-discipline is the quality that will make you a big success. It's the ability to force yourself to do what you know you should do. And here it is, the wonderful discovery. This persistence is self-discipline in action. And every time you persist, you build your self-discipline. Every time you practice self-discipline, you build your ability to persist. And the two of them are tied into your self-esteem. So the more you persist, the more you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the more discipline you have. And the more discipline you have in practice, the more you like yourself. As a result, the more you persist. And eventually you get onto an upper spiral where you become absolutely unstoppable. You reach the point where you know you can achieve the goal and nothing in the world can stop you. And every step that you take forward makes you stronger and stronger and stronger until finally people say, I know one thing about him, I know one thing about her. You cannot stop him or her. Once they decided they want something, they will not stop until they get it. And when you develop that quality, there will be nothing that is impossible to you. As we wrap up our discussion, I want to leave you with a powerful truth. The path to becoming a millionaire is not just a dream, but a tangible reality within your grasp. Today, you've discovered that you're only one skill away from unlocking the doors to wealth, abundance, and financial freedom. But remember, success isn't just about reaching a destination. It's a journey of continual growth and self-improvement. As you start your journey to become a millionaire, promise yourself to keep learning, working hard, and staying determined. See challenges as chances to grow and always invest in yourself and your potential. Most importantly, think with abundance, gratitude, and generosity. Remember, true wealth isn't just about money. It's about the difference you make in others' lives, the things you do, and the legacy you leave. Thanks for joining me on this journey of discovery and empowerment. Now move forward confidently, courageously, and with conviction, knowing that you have what it takes to achieve greatness. Until next time, may your future be full of success, plenty, and the realization of your biggest dreams.